What is up, traders? I got some serious game to drop on you, a wild idea, theory, and of course some plays. I am super confident these are going to bring hundreds of percents for how cheap they are. We have war going on, escalating, bombs are dropping. The funny part about this is Israel is trying to reach out to Trump and the US to confirm retaliation when they kind of started it. All that, regardless of the Middle East, my goal is to bring you a weekly watch list every Sunday and with the week's expectations, some daily videos throughout the week, maybe every other day, depending on the market. We're coming into summer. It's going to start slowing down a little bit. We got SpaceX IPO. We'll get into that. We got a lot going on, but it will run dry. We're going to slow down for a month or two, probably towards the latter half of this month. July is probably going to be slow, a slow grind, nothing much, just the administration, both sides trying to build a case for why you should vote for them. That is going to start in July, but it's really going to kick off in August and September. That is when the real campaigning will begin. All this stuff is unedited, straight off the cuff. I just go with some simple notes that you can see. That way you can follow along. I show them so you have something to reference back to and note for yourself while I go over them. They are in my Discord. I just have this pretty much for a note-taking software to keep myself honest, to keep it logged. I kind of found that it was the best software to just be able to have tabs, jot my ideas down, take notes on my trades. But my aim is to bring you through these videos the most important news in the shortest amount of time, the only news that matters in about 10 minutes. I like to touch on the economy because it matters, but it also doesn't matter. But it also matters. We'll see with inflation data. We'll get into all that. But about 3 to 6 plays usually, and let's get into it. So we had a terrible day on Friday. That got bears all excited. We are chopping around right now on the futures market. I mean, we've had bombs dropping headline after headline. We've had some pretty big candles for futures, for Globex. So we got to watch what it brings. We're really not out of the woods yet, so we just got to really focus. But this week's data, inflation data, is a hot topic, and we're going to see what happens. And one of my theories is, we'll just jump straight into that before we get into the data. I kind of think after every war, there's always a big last hurrah. I think this is the last hurrah for now. I think both sides are going to just start throwing missiles at each other all night for us and all day for them. But I do really think Monday or Tuesday, we are going to have an end to the war. That is a crazy 10, but that would send the market right back up. That would eliminate all fear. That would bring in hundreds of millions and billions of dollars for the SpaceX IPO. Everybody would be all happy. And then the space sector would get rocked. The inflation numbers are going to come in high. That's obvious, but it won't even matter. The data won't even matter because everybody will think the war's over. Oil's going to come down. Everything's going to go back to a lower level, especially on the inflation front. As far as the 10 goes, that's pretty much it. Another thing that I want to touch on, some game that everybody needs to pay attention to. Two things. Google, a couple months ago, came out with TurboVac, and long story short, they were able to shrink 32 gigabytes of data of memory down to 4 gigabytes. And so what did that do? That's going to kill MU. That is, and it kind of looks like it already started. I mean, every single rally ends with a candle like this. Now, I think this was a little extreme straight down. I think this was definitely just a pump and dump, and there was nothing material to this. Unlike the memory shortage, this is a much bigger time frame. These things are going to take a lot longer to formulate and work itself out. But I definitely think memory is going to go down, and Google is about to get this kind of juice. What we're seeing right now is incredible. We could see Google really start to pick up and take a lot of market share from MU, from SanDisk. And it looks like that's already starting. I mean, you had some pretty big days coming up right here, but it looks like we're almost right in here. I think Google is my number one play. Before we get into the plays, let's get into the data. CPI Wednesday and PPI on Thursday, both high in focus. If numbers are up, are for CPI above 2.9 expectations, if they're 3, 3.1, 3.2, that will be bad. Hopefully the war does end and none of it matters, but higher inflation, less rate cuts, that's bearish. The market, the institutions, they don't like that. They want low rates. Tuesday, ADP employment change, Michigan consumer sentiment on Friday, not worried about it, but all eyes are on the inflation. Earnings. Monday morning, FSL. This was a Leopold ad. Everybody watched this pump up. I would imagine that they're going to do somewhat good and they're going to get a pump. But we'll just have to see. I like to inverse whatever it does the couple days after earnings, but we'll just have to wait and see what that does. Probably won't play that because I'll be focusing more on Chewy, Oracle, and Adobe. But there's another little play that's outside of my watch list. Well, it's on my watch list, but it's not on my main focus plays. Is Skill. This is like an education company for learning of software and all this stuff. And they had recently acquired a coding company, a coding education company. And with everything that's going on with the memory, with AI, I think this could be a dark horse. And I didn't get this idea from anywhere but the earnings calendar. I saw it was on there. I looked into the company, and it could be a catalyst. It's not very high up there, but it's one of those dark horse, one of those you never know, it could happen. But it has that little excitement factor of they have that coding education side of their business now, and that could really start to heat up. And we'll see what their earnings report says. This could be something you throw just a small amount in and I guess hope and pray. That's not how we like to do investing, but YOLOs are YOLOs, and degenerates, we like to gamble. So this is something that I might actually partake in. I don't know if I'm going to front run it, but I will be watching it Tuesday after the market. Wednesday, Chewy in the morning, and Oracle. Chewy's a great company. They don't have the best earnings. They make a lot of money, but Their margins are really tight. There's a lot going on, but this is one of those roaring kitty companies, and who knows? We'll see how this one goes, but it's something to keep your eye on. It could really get moving. It's holding this gap up. We'll see if it makes it or breaks it and kind of leaves this island up here. That would be bearish, the bearish side. If anything, it could just really rock it and numbers could be good. Chewy makes a lot of money. A lot of people use it for their pets. Oracle, along with software, has been on a tear. I'm likely not playing this because I like the look of Adobe a lot better. Adobe hasn't had a breakout. Adobe makes a lot of money. I like where this is for long-term shares. I like option trade in it, and we're going to get into that. I do have a play for you. All right. So we do have a lot, and I think we are in a sell everything for SpaceX IPO, and that might last for a little bit, but I don't think that's the real deal. I think we're selling everything. I think there was a big profit taking event, and I think that crypto, that is my main focus, my main theme going forward. Everything else has pretty much already ran except crypto. I mean, even oil has gone up, but crypto is going to be, and mark my words, crypto will be one of the biggest comebacks anybody has ever seen, based on the fact that midterms are going to bring explosive volatility to the crypto market. There is going to be bills signed. Trump will fast track everything that has to do with crypto. And I think that is now. I think the time to start loading is now. There's a lot of people. Let's not do this to Adobe. There's a lot of people. Let's get these alerts off. There's a lot of people saying that coin is going to go to 40. Coin is going to go to 50, 90 and lower. I don't believe that for a second. Bitcoin had a really explosive move on a Trump tweet, and it had nothing to do with crypto at all. We are at a crossroads. We either make it or break it right now, but I don't think Coinbase is going to go any lower than 140. I don't think it will come down to even test this. I think we are at the pinnacle right now. And I already loaded Coinbase on Friday. I plan on loading Gemini in the long term as well. I have their credit card. It's amazing. I earn crypto on every time I use the credit card, I earn crypto. Why would you want to earn cash? That makes no sense. Cash is dying. Cash gets you nothing. Crypto will. Crypto will buy you a house one day. If you keep using that card, I use it for my bills. I'm going to keep using it. I'm going to keep stacking. I switch from Bitcoin to Solana to XRP. And I just stack 1 month, I'll do Bitcoin 1 month, I'll do Solana 1 month, I'll do XRP. And that way I diversify through my spending. Regardless, the headlines this weekend was that one of the big reasons why crypto fell and why I think crypto has bottomed, because Cloud found a vulnerability allowing unlimited minting of Zcash. What a headline to bottom the market. Now retail is scared. Everybody is worried. They don't want to buy crypto now. That's the perfect time to buy. Peak fear. I wonder what kind of, on the next 13Fs, we're going to see a bunch of crypto stocks being added to these big wig portfolios. I can almost guarantee you it. I am loading the boat on crypto right now. Now is the next best time to buy crypto. If you were buying it all the way up, you better start buying it again if you stopped. Like I said earlier, Iran launches missiles at Israel. Israel started it once again. Healthcare had a very solid week, and it looks to be making that full recovery. And so those are my three sectors: is crypto, healthcare, and space. Because SpaceX is IPOing likely on Friday. And so with the close on Friday, everybody is bearish. They do it every single time to catch you off sides. Don't let them do it to you. Do not let them scare you. We are going much higher. And that is, it's easy to see. Trump does not want markets down. He says he doesn't care about the market, but he really does. Wait for it. He was buying more stocks. He's going to continue to buy more stocks. He's saying the U.S. is going to start investing in U.S. more companies. And so that's just going to increase the buying. The more money that gets printed, the more we're going to go up. And so my top plays for this week is Google. Google is bouncing off not only of previous all-time highs right here, but the 50 daily moving average. We had an inside bar. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to bring us down for just a little bit and then rip it back up. But I think this TurboVac news is going to start catching legs. I think your traditional memory, SanDisk, and MU, I think they're going to get clapped. I think the run was fun. It's over, in my opinion. And Google is going to take a lot of that market share. And I think they're the next $1,000 company. That made me think of Marvel being the next $1 trillion company, according to good old Jensen. Marvel hasn't been around, and they don't have nearly as much skin in the game as Meta. I think Meta is going to be the next $1 trillion company. I think Meta has a lot of recovery, but in today's market, that could be a one single day. We could go down for one more week and then rally back up, or leave all this in the dust. And if the war is ended by 9:30, by the open, we could gap straight up on everything. But Adobe. Oh, I'm looking at the June for Google. I'm looking at the June 18th 410 call for 64 cents. I wouldn't pay definitely more than 90 cents for this. We're going to see how the open plays out. We're going to see how everything goes. But I really do think this TurboVac, them compressing 32 gigabytes down to 4 gigabytes of data, is a big deal. And I think it's gonna catch on. I would also swing some leaps as well and see if there's not something more into July, into the 450s to the 500s for Google. Because if we get an August, let's say 600 call, let's see what that's priced at right now. They don't even have it. Even better. They don't have a 550, but a 540 doesn't look too bad. I actually kind of like these. Just for a little, you never know type of moment. And so I'm going to keep that one on watch. 500 call for July. Moving on to Oracle. I mean, Adobe. Adobe looks really good down here. Adobe crushes earnings, every earnings. And so we'll have to see how it leads into this week. But I mean, the market doesn't look bad. The market seems to be recovering so far. And so I really like Adobe for the long term, and I like Adobe for the short term. I think Adobe could have a massive rip back up. I don't think Adobe is going anywhere. If anything, after all the dust settles, it will just be one of those moments where we look back and say, yeah, of course Adobe didn't go anywhere. They just utilized and adapted to what was in front of them. Claude isn't really going to take its place. There are still editing to do. There still needs to have human intervention. And people are always going to want to tinker with their own videos, tinker with their own software. Adobe's not going anywhere. And I think if they have a blowout earnings, just like almost every other big major company has had recently, Adobe's going to do well. All right. Healthcare and UNH. I don't think the daily chart does it justice, although it still looks really good. I don't think the weekly chart does it justice, although that is a nice candle after a little consolidation from these highs. What gets me most excited is this monthly chart right here. The indecision was already done, and it very well seems June is a month for healthcare. I definitely think we get above 400. We get into the 410s, 415s, 420s. And then realistically, I think we come up and I think we test 450 to 470 in that range. And if anything, I don't know when their earnings are. So in July, at the end of July, is their earnings. So there's a lot of time. I'm worried about this double top, and that is all that I am concerned about. I would love to see it above 400 to really start hammering the pedal on some 450 calls. And realistically, a little bit further out, running up into earnings, July 17th, the 500 call at 85 cents. I think that is the best risk reward. And I don't think UNH has expensive earnings. And unless you catch that headline, unless you catch something, you can get a daily, weekly. Those are the only options that will really, where you can turn a little into a lot. For now, I think this is the best risk to reward. Moving on to some small caps. One of my favorite sectors this week is healthcare, and one of my favorite stocks is Clearmind. I don't know what's really going on with this stock other than they have a webinar they're hosting on June 10th about clinical data from a drug they have, CMND 100. I have already bought shares this Sunday. They've had big volume leading into this webinar ever since their bottom, ever since their split. They've been slowly grinding up. And this is exactly what you want to see in these small cap plays, is you want to see that beautiful trend before the break. Do we come down and take out some stops right here? It's very likely. I sized for 0 on this one. So if we come down, I will cut my losses at previous all-time lows at around 2. If it breaks under $2, I will be out of this. But I think with the healthcare industry, with this bull flag right here, I think we could very well rip and get back up to the $5, $6, and $7 range. And that is my initial profit target. I think it looks really good. And with the float size, with the share structure, Clearmind can really do some crazy things. And if their clinical trials are really all what they're talking about, are all good, I think we're going to go much higher. I think Clearmind has a very bright future. My second play is another volume leader. I always look at volume over the weekend to see what has moved up. And I think Edible Gardens, I think it had a nice little pump liquidity sweep. I don't know what it was. There wasn't really any news following it. But I like how it's starting this. It's starting to make higher lows. And when a small cap company, a tiny company like this starts doing that, that's when you start loading. Draw out your trend line. And hammer the ask. As soon as it gets down there, that's when I'm going to start buying. It already had done it a few times this Sunday. And we're going to see if it keeps doing that, and then hopefully get back up to the 24 and make a run up to 30. The daily chart is smacked down pretty hard, but my initial target is that 30 range. I don't know why Sleep Number had this run up, but the volume was crazy. I don't know if it's just a little recovery, if it's just a small dead cat bounce, a bounce off of 30, but I do like the daily chart. That's a lot of volume for what? Is there a buyout coming? Are they going to get bought out at $1.50, $2 a share? We're going to see. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good week. Watch out for the inflation data, Oracle, Adobe, Chewy, and Skill for earnings. Keep your eye out for the tinfoil that I shared, oil, and the Iran developments, and hopefully the war ending. I will likely have some oil plays throughout the week, and we'll have to see about that. But if you follow me on Twitter, you'll figure it out.